what if AI could make us better at what we do instead of just taking over our jobs? This is what we focus on a lot at Hypercontext, and I wanted to invite everyone into the brain trust because not only do I think this is really important for us, I think this is really important for everybody, and I think we'll only figure it out if we figure it out together. I want to introduce a pretty simple grid. Now, on this grid, we have two axes, one going from dumb AI to smart AI, and on the other is really the outputs of these efforts. It's the generic outputs or the really personalized, valuable stuff. I think this 2x2 helps us understand where our tools, our apps, and most importantly, maybe our efforts land. It sort of goes without saying, but along the top right of our grid, we have the Holy Grail, smart AI producing personalized outputs. And this is where I think everyone aims to be or get to, because here, the technology truly does enhance what we are doing. Okay, so let's contextualize some of this. We used GPT 3.5. It's the first one that sort of everyone started paying attention to. Now, it's producing results that aren't quite super smart, but it's definitely not dumb. And obviously, they're pretty generic. And then we'll put GPT 4 over here. Again, very generic, but definitely much smarter. Now, if you're sort of wondering what's the scale on the y-axis here, I'm sort of thinking like generic is like internet level data versus maybe like company level data all the way up to here, which is like data from your brain. Now, often what people talk about is their own company's AI. And truthfully, I would say, maybe it gets you something around here. I mean, you're certainly not going to be able to train AI better than the world's leading AI companies. But here's maybe a more important thought. What we call smart today and what we call maybe dumb today shifts over time. And as these best-in-class models get better, they'll push the older models quickly towards the left of our grid. I think relying on any internal LLMs is sort of a short-term idea because as time goes on, they're not going to be that helpful, certainly in comparison to some of the best-in-class. So maybe I'll just remove that. Now let's add humans. You'd think we'd be over here. The issue is without the right training or motivation or rest or time, even the best of us drift to be a little bit more generic and a little bit less effective. Consider the smartest, hardest working person at your company who cares the most. They're going to be pulled in so many different directions that for any given task, they're only going to have maybe half the time they want to spend on that task to actually get it done. And just inherently, that work is going to become more generic and maybe less high quality because of that. Certainly not going to be able to produce 100% of the best work that they know is possible 100% of the time. And so I think you can split humans into different categories. Red for those days we're sort of phoning it in. Yellow for like the average. And then green for those like fully engaged days where you're just really able to crush the work you need to get done. Now, argue with me on that if you want. I'd be curious to see sort of what your breakdown would be, but I think that's directionally correct. Okay, but this is where apps come in. We're humans at work, but we use tools to get that work done. And I think that can really change the landscape here. And those tools can either make us more productive or less productive or distract us or make everything easier or better. Well, again, I think it's helpful to break these apps up into categories. And I'm going to start with the dumb AI apps. Those are the sort of thin wrappers around smart AI. They're taking that smart AI, they're maybe putting it through a pretty quick workflow and applying some generic information on top of it. And those apps actually take the least motivated of us and make us significantly better because instead of being lazy, we get to be lazy without having the results of lazy people. The AI, if nothing, is not lazy. Now, I wouldn't consider that good, but I would say that that's directionally better and closer to that holy grail. The obvious next one, an app that takes your company data and that smart AI applies it. And again, it gets the benefits of AI where it's tireless, but it also is able to tirelessly go through that company data and apply that at work. But again, I don't think that's the holy grail. The holy grail is something around here where we're able to take all that information that's personalized, all that information that's in our gut, apply that with our company data and apply that with the smartest AI models that are out there. Now, if we're able to do that, we're not going to make the world's best humans that much better. We're certainly going to make them better, but the gap is going to be less than it would be taking some of our tired, burnt out, demotivated days that we all have and allow those to be some of our best days ever. One thing to think about here is these apps don't necessarily have to be separate apps. These can be different states of the same app. Your app might start as just this until you load it with company data. And at best, any app might just be this for a demotivated human who isn't going to load in personal data into it. And so as we think about how do we make AI work for us, we have to pair that AI with workflows and interfaces that are as efficient as technically possible at getting the data out of us and into the right format in the most humanly efficient way we possibly can. That's sort of how I'm thinking about some of this stuff. I think this is sort of how we can make AI work for us. I would love to hear your thoughts on how we can make this all possible.